With the Ironheart series set to drop on Disney Plus later on today by both Marvel Studios and the Disney Company, we already know that those out there like Bob Iger, Kevin Feige, and many other Marvel and Disney executives, they are trying to keep it all together. They are trying to head into damage control over the series in the midst of the failing press tour and the terrible marketing campaign, mind you, with abysmal TV spots getting thrown out there and mocked by Marvel fans. It's not looking good for Kevin Feige, and it's most certainly not looking good for Bob Iger. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. Now, one thing about Ironheart is that we all know that it's very similar to the Acolyte series based on the way the story is flowing, based on how, universally rejected the show really is, how it's something that nobody really asked for, and exactly how much of an impact it's having on the studio, in this case Marvel, much like what the Acolyte did with Lucasfilm. I mean, the comparison is uncanny, but when you're looking at everything like this, between the directors, the writers of the show, we already know that Marvel is dealing with a lot of other issues. They're already trying to really just hope that Fantastic Four First Steps does very, very well at the box office, and they're pretty much on edge at this point that this show could very well impact that. But let's focus on everything here when it comes down to the Ironheart firings situation, how it recently got even worse by Disney CEO Bob Iger, and how it's creating a little bit of a grudge between both Kevin Feige and Bob Iger in the midst of all this drama. So let's get into this. Now, with Ironheart by both Disney and Marvel set to release on Disney Plus shortly, already those like Bob Iger and the many executives at Disney are running into complete panic mode after some trusted Disney critics even turned against Marvel after seeing Ironheart. Now, one significant development going on now involves more to do with Ironheart firings, and now the drama surrounding that worsened for both Marvel and Disney. It turns out that not only did Bob Iger force Kevin Feige to fire the marketing team of Ironheart weeks ago, as we discussed here, but now Bob Iger and the rest of Disney made a direct emergency move to fire more employees at Marvel that exclusively worked on Ironheart. This is now involving, of course, the firings of a number of other employees, such as animators, makeup artists, set designers, and more, that will be laid off and not returned to other Marvel-related projects, whether it's movies or television programs. However, it goes beyond that. Some of the side characters that were played by some of the actors and actresses in the show that were previously planned to return in other Marvel-related Disney projects, such as shows, for example, are also getting laid off by Bob Iger after the Disney Plus streaming platform is dealing with serious funding issues after a lack of support over the past year and a half, not just for Marvel, but also for all of their brands. Now, guys, you may recall that, Tony Gilroy, alright, who was heavily involved in the Andor Star Wars series, even admitted that Disney Plus is really just not a good market right now to create shows by Disney, and they're really just not getting the proper funds that they need because of how much money they're losing. Now, one interesting factor about all of this is that we know that after numerous shows, The Acolyte was a big impact on Lucasfilm. And when you look at a movie, for example, like the Marvels, it really did create an impact for both, of course, brands or franchises, whatever have you, whether it be Star Wars or Marvel. And with the looming Ironheart ratings disaster set to become publicly known to all Marvel fans once the actual reviews start pouring in, Bob Iger, get this, already has pre-planned responses for damage control, and is already ordering Kevin Feige to prepare pre-written statements for the looming backlash. Beyond the firings of the animators, set designers, small role actors, and more, Bob Iger and Kevin Feige have also agreed to lay off more Marvel-related employees connected to other Marvel shows and/or films as a result of the Ironheart disaster. Hence, this show is creating a domino effect for the foundation of Marvel Studios. Bob Iger is already getting internal backlash from making this decision by multiple Marvel executives, and it's reportedly getting very ugly between both Disney and Marvel. After all, Iger did make this sudden decision. As of now, there are multiple meetings taking place on whether or not they want to ditch the Ironheart character altogether, played by Dominque Thorne. On one end, Kevin Feige desperately wants her to return for Avengers Doomsday to make a very important appearance, while on the other end, Disney executives believe that after the bad press for Ironheart, this will be a disastrous move. Now, guys, let me just say one thing about this. Now, when I look at Marvel, I think that everything really began to go downhill after Avengers Endgame. And now when you got Doomsday coming out in 2026, there's a lot of things on the line. There are different expressions coming from Marvel fans. Some people are very confused and not all for RDJ playing Doctor Doom. Some people are very much ecstatic over that. There's a, big split between Marvel fans on their thoughts about RDJ playing Doctor Doom. But one interesting thing about this is that Ironheart, going into actual Doomsday, going into that movie, I don't think it would be a good move at all, especially if this is going to be the worst Marvel creation in history. And that's exactly what it's setting itself up to be as, because based on the test screenings, based on what we talked about as well weeks and weeks ago, this really is the worst Marvel creation yet. And it's pretty much on par with the Acolyte series being the worst Star Wars creation when it comes to Disney+. So, interestingly enough, Feige is actively trying to prevent Dominque Thorne from getting fired by Disney and removed from the MCU, and is defending her to actually stay in Marvel movies and TV shows moving onwards. This is a very similar struggle to what happened both during and after the Acolyte show and its ratings disaster for Star Wars back in June of last year, and how it created a negative ripple effect for Lucasfilm-related projects and even Kathleen Kennedy. Now again, I always like to say that Kathleen Kennedy and Kevin Feige, they're similar in different ways when it comes to the typical Disney messaging, the Disney agenda. And look, Kevin Feige has had some hits before, that's for certain. And we know that he actually openly made a statement some weeks ago that, yeah, we made some mistakes down the line when it came to Marvel, when we're trying to fix that. We're trying to go back to the roots, go back to the basics, go back to the pure fun of Marvel. But if they really cared, as far as I see it, they could have just canceled this thing outright, and they could have prevented a potential derailment of the momentum when it comes to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And again, that is one big fear coming from both Bob Iger and Kevin Feige, is that the negative press and all of this could very well actually lose a percentage of Marvel fans in support of Fantastic Four. Now look, I don't think it's going to create a significant impact on Fantastic Four, but it most certainly will lose some trust from some Marvel fans to go see Fantastic Four First Steps, and to wait at least until it arrives on Disney+. So you're going to see some people doing that for sure after Ironheart, there's no doubt about that. However, interestingly enough, yet again, we know that Bob Iger is just trying to contain whatever he believes his reputation is viewed as, right? He believes that he is propping himself as a good CEO, when in reality we all see this as nothing more than damage control, right? He's trying to build up a legacy before he steps down in 2026, and so far it's not working. And we already know their internal strategy is to create non-agenda driven projects and agenda driven projects to please both, to please the public that are against DEI, and to also please the shareholders, the top three ones that are all for DEI, BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, you name it. So overall, I think Ironheart is really on par to be very much on the same level of the Acolyte based on what we saw with the recent TV spot. Go ahead and check it out. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.